Welcome back to another episode of Dynasty After Dark. I'm your host, Calvin Timms. You can find me over on Twitter at TDC_Calvin or my co-host on Twitter at Dynasty_Dale. Dale, how's it going today?
Hey, I am doing pretty good. I mean, the world's on fire, but here we are, doing our dynasty free agents for wide receivers. So
Did I miss something? Did
it's
something
definitely a
happen
good
today?
day.
Oh, no.
Well, I mean, the world's always on fire, man. Come
Okay.
on.
Just typical fire. Typical
Yo,
everyday fire.
just a typical fire every day.
All right. Today we got the free agent wide receivers, so thank you guys for joining us today. And before we get into the video too much, we've been putting out a lot of content over on YouTube. Please make sure you're going and check it all out. We've done our coaching roundup, gone over all the new head coaches, all of the offensive coordinator changes that we've seen. We're going through our free agents right now, doing some mock drafts, doing free agents or the rookie roundup as well. So we've been putting out a lot of content for you guys this off season already, and there's so much more to come. It's only February, and we're already like 30 episodes into the season. So if you can, please, wherever you're listening to this, please give us a thumbs up, 5-star review, a comment, anything to help with a subscription would be appreciated as well, just to show your love for the podcast. We've been trying to get better and better. You know, it's been fun so far, just minus the whole cold that will not go away for me so far. Yeah. But if you can, just please leave a comment, tell the podcast to one of your friends, just any friend, trying to grow the podcast organically, you know, not by buying a bunch of Indian bot farmers over there. So if you can, just tell the podcast about it to one other person. The YouTube channel has been growing slowly, but we appreciate you guys nonetheless. So that said, we're going to jump into the free agent wide receivers for 2023. And I got to say, man, this is not a good looking list. It is looking rough out there for the wide receivers.
Slim pickings for sure.
Oh, my goodness. So we're going to start at the top. Well, I mean, man, should we start at the bottom and work our way up? You know, give people something to look forward to? No, we'll start at the top. We'll start at the top. So for me, the top two guys that are free agents right now are going to be Juju Smith-Schuster and DJ Chark. So both of these guys are 1 month apart in age, 26 years old. DJ Chark, not the best season so far this year. You know, he only played 11 games, but he had a lingering issue, was a 1-year contract, $10 million, but he hits the market again. I think he was pretty explosive, especially in the later games of the season. That's when you really got to see what he could do and what I was kind of hoping to see him do later on in the season. And, you know, early in the season, I think he played like 3 weeks, got injured, kind of battled that injury for the next, I think, 6 to 8 weeks, and then was finally healthy the last stretch of games. But he had 30 catches for 494 yards this last year, 3 touchdowns in 11 games played, but only 494 snaps. So that's pretty efficient considering, you know, the number of snaps that he actually was on the field. You know, you double that, which is in line with a lot of the guys that were playing a lot more this season. 60 catches is not a ton, but that's he would have had 1,000 yards on that pace. Mm-hmm. So that's a pretty good buy for the value of DJ Chark. DJ Chark is dirt cheap right now in Dynasty, and he's one of my favorite ads. They could bring him back. I know a lot of people are worried right now about Jameson Williams and his long-term value. We know that Amon-Ra St. Brown is a stud, but they really don't have a solid number 3 guy right now. I think DJ Chark could fall into that. I know they have Reynolds, I think, is number 8. Whoever number 8 is for him. But with how slim pickings the wide receivers are this year, DJ Chark could actually go somewhere like New York. And I know we get Kenny Galladay vibes from DJ Chark if you were to go from Detroit to New York. But there's a lot of teams out there that could definitely use DJ Chark's skill set. And again, he is dirt cheap. You can get him for a late second probably in most of your leagues. And I think that he definitely has the opportunity, and he's only 26 years old. Has been very good when he plays. You know, this last year was a little banged up, but yeah, I'm still willing to buy in. Maybe I'm crazy, but I think that right now, if you're investing in DJ Chark, it's a good time to buy. You have any thoughts on Chark?
Yeah, no, I do agree with that. Like with his value right now, it is very cheap for for all that he did. I do get the worry in Detroit with, I mean, there's only one ball to pass around, so but I do expect the passing game to really take a jump
Yeah.
this year. I really do. I feel they really believe in Jared Goff, and I think with their team as a whole, I just really expect them to take another leap forward this year and to be more proficient
Mm-hmm.
on the offensive side. Um, so I actually heard a stat from the Ballers today that they ran like they had a lot of their touchdowns within the 5 yard line this year.
Okay.
I think like 60 something percent
Really?
of
I haven't
of of,
listened to that
of
episode
the
yet.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so it was a very high percentage came in the 5 yard line, like, in the red zone.
So
So,
it was all Williams,
yeah, basically. So
Jamal.
so 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 really, I do expect them to have a little bit more offensive explosions with Williams. I mean, you have DJ Chark. That's hopefully both of them will be healthy, and then
Mm-hmm.
you have Amon Ra on the other side, who hopefully is healthy and is not concussed every other game. It seemed
Yep.
like he was.
Yep.
So like if they all stay halfway healthy, I really see Detroit being a really explosive offense that can support three wide receivers potentially being relevant and still having a running back or two that's relevant as well. So,
Yeah, that all depends on whether or not he comes back to Detroit, right? Which I think there is a
yes,
very
yes,
real possibility that he would, but at the same
yes, I agree.
time, that's where it gets a little bit more interesting, right? So,
Yeah.
DJ Chark definitely the number one guy on my list in terms of ads. And I was just looking real quick. So if you look at his actual game log, week number 1, 81% of snaps last year. Week 2, he had 66%, but he had 4 targets, no catches. I think I remember watching that game against Washington. They were all just barely out of his. I think 2 of them were just barely out of his reach for a touchdown. Week 3, 79%, but then he got injured in that game. Didn't come back to a meaningful workload until week number 12 at Buffalo. Played 73% of snaps in that game. 10 fantasy points there. But after that, closing out the year, 84, 86, 76, 74, 68, 65. Like he played a lot more in the back half and was able to really utilize his after the catch ability in those games. So again, DJ Chark, he's not the best guy. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not saying he's going to be a top 12 wide receiver, but I think for a late second, he is definitely worth an ad at that point. All right, number 2 guy here is going to be Juju Smith-Schuster. Now, I don't know what to think about Juju, man. He went to Kansas City
Yeah.
and was not that great. But on the flip side, he played 16 games. I know he was kind of banged up in some of them.
Mm-hmm.
He had 722 snaps, 78 catches for 933 yards, 3 touchdowns. Also had 3 fumbles, which was kind of rough on the year. You definitely felt that a lot. But I don't know if Kansas City is going to bring him back. And the Juju is definitely under fire right now for the whole post Super Bowl Valentine's Day card. If you haven't seen it, it is pretty funny. I thought it was funny that he did one of those little Valentine's cards or whatever, and it was James Bradbury, and he said, I hold you when it matters most, or something like that. I thought it was hilarious. I thought that was funny. But then AJ Brown came out and just absolutely roasted him, said, shut your mouth. What was it? Shut your mouth, TikTok boy. Which we had Slant Boy, and now we got TikTok Boy. So there's
Yep.
Yeah,
I
it was.
see. Yep, I'm reading it right now.
What's it say?
He
So
said
go ahead.
yeah. So for Juju said, like it's a tweet of James Bradbury
Yeah.
saying that I will hold you when it matters most,
Right.
and then
Hilarious.
AJ Brown said, first off, congratulations, y'all deserve it. This is lame. You was on the way out of the league before Mahomes resurrected your career on your 1 year deal, TikTok boy.
Yeah.
He admitted that he grabbed you, but don't act like you're that was or ever was. But congratulations again.
Yep.
Thank
So
you, AJ Brown.
AJ Brown absolutely roasted him. Everybody on Twitter was
Yeah.
just, the popcorn meme. It was hilarious. But
Yes.
the problem is, if you're not going to be an elite option with Patrick Mahomes, what are we going to do with you going forward? That's where I'm a little bit more nervous. I think that Juju is kind of at this point in time. He's still young, so you could definitely invest in him again, a late second. But I just don't know if people are going to sell him for a second. And then when you throw that into it, I mean, he finished as the wide receiver 27 in PPR this year, which is not great. 101 targets, which is the third highest of his career. Again, he was pretty good when he got the ball in his hands. Yard per catch numbers were pretty good, but only 3 touchdowns this year. It felt like most of the touchdowns were going to Travis Kelce. But again, he was kind of very inconsistent, like extremely inconsistent. And basically, Kansas City just did not need him. So, again, it's a weak market. He could go somewhere again and sign a 1-year deal. I don't know where that would be. There's a lot of teams that could use him right now. The Bears, for example, the Giants, a lot of teams could really use a wide receiver. So Juju could go somewhere and he could be a volume guy, but that's pretty much all you're looking for from Juju at this point in time is volume. I don't think that you're going to be able to ever consistently rely on him to have monster performances anymore. So, he's a wide receiver 3. That's a PPR machine, but he's kind of a spot play right now. So again, late second, and you could probably snag him and it'd be worth it. But if you're going to have to pay a high second for Juju, which you might just based on notoriety and age, I'm out completely. So any major thoughts on Juju?
I do agree with that with the price. I don't really think he's going to stay in Kansas City. I think he's going to try to test the market and get a little bit more money since he's won a championship already. Like he's already achieved that. So I kind of feel some players will move on from that and try to get their coin while they can. So I really think TikTok Boy has a good chance of moving on from Kansas City. And I mean, again, like what you were saying, I wouldn't want to give up a early second. I would much rather have like any of the running backs, some of the wide receivers that would still be there. I would much rather have them than Juju. And to me personally, I
go ahead.
Oh well, it's to me personally, like I find it wild that Juju's been in the league this long. I mean, for this long.
The thing that scares me the most about Juju is he's had those knee issues for a couple years now, and a couple of the games that he missed this last year were because he had swelling in his knee, and that's where it just gets really scary. You're 26 years old and you're already having knee issues. You're a massive influencer. You can clown on him for the TikTok thing, but it does pay a lot of bills. So,
it does. Absolutely. Absolutely.
There's going to be a very real incentive for Juju Smith-Schuster to retire early, I believe, from the NFL. You're not an elite wide receiver anymore. It doesn't really feel like his heart is in it anymore as well. And again, you're making a ton of money on the side from other things. Why beat yourself up forever when you can go make more money from that? So, Juju, late second, anything more than that, I'm out completely. But again, depending on where the landing spots are from this upcoming draft, there are quite a few rookies that I might even prefer to Juju in the late second. So it's going to be a deep class, but that's kind of where I'm feeling where I'd be willing to take a stab on him if I really needed wide receiver help. But, we're going to talk about this next guy, Jacoby Myers, who's a free agent coming off season with New England. I actually would probably rather take a stab, after talking over Juju a little bit more. I'd probably rather take a stab on Jacoby Myers than Juju, to be honest. I kind of rank it DJ Chark, Jacoby Myers, Juju, and that's where it kind of falls off pretty heavily in terms of the wide receivers this year. But Jacoby Myers, he had 14 games played this last year. 629 snaps played. It was a terrible offense. So before we go and hold anything against him too heavily right now, just remember the New England Patriots offense was ran by Matt Patricia and Joe Judge last year. So you can't take any of it with any seriousness. I would like to see New England bring him back and then add another wide receiver on the outside because Nelson Aguilar is also a free agent, and I don't think we need to bring him back. So I would like to see Jacoby Myers back in New England. He really seems like a Bill Belichick type of guy. And with Bill O'Brien coming in, I think that Jacoby Myers, if he was there, would be very, very valuable. for fantasy. I think that he could, he had 67 catches for 804 yards and 6 touchdowns this last year. I could definitely see that being closer to 90, 95, maybe 1,100 yards and 8-9 touchdowns with Bill O'Brien if he were to come back. So Jacoby Myers is definitely somebody that is very interesting. And again, he's the exact same age as Juju Smith-Schuster, but he's gone way under the radar in comparison to Juju in terms of star profile. What are your thoughts on Jacoby?
I really like Jacoby. I mean, well, like him coming up in the last couple years, like I was kind of off since he's been in New England personally. I kind of feel if he stays in New England, I mean, I feel he'll have a better season, but I think he kind of wants out of there, in my opinion.
Maybe. I don't know. It's
Um,
tough to say.
I know. It all depends if he wants a chance of getting in the playoffs or not.
hmm
I personally think he's going to be a Bear. I really hope he is for Justin Fields' sake to have at least a competent wide receiver there.
I don't know if
I
that'd be
mean,
good though for the Bears. And here's my thought
fair.
process.
That's fair.
My only thought process is they already have Chase Claypool, Mapletron, right?
Yep.
They
Yep.
could definitely get somebody. Honestly, I think that DJ Chark would be better as a Bear, and he would fit a more pressing need because who's the smaller guy that they have there right now that everyone was super hyped about last year? What's his name?
Mooney.
Yeah,
Mooney,
Darnell
Darnell
Mooney.
Mooney.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yep.
So they've already got Chase Claypool. They've got Darnell Mooney. They get a Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Mm-hmm.
They pair Justin Fields with his guy from college. All of a sudden, you don't really need that much. You could use a Jacoby Myers, but who's he really replacing? Darnell Mooney is like Jackson Smith and Jigba would be the possession guy in that offense, where that's kind of the thing that Jacoby Myers is. He's more of a possession guy, the short yardage type of guy, and I just don't know if you really need that in this offense. With Justin Fields, they need more of a intermediate to more of an intermediate guy. They don't really necessarily need a short yardage guy. Mooney and Claypool are both that deeper threat type of player. So that's my only thought process on Myers. But lots of teams could definitely use his skill set. Don't get me wrong. Like the Chargers, if they move on from Keenan Allen, let's say they replace Keenan Allen with Jacoby Myers, I don't really think it's that much of a downgrade right there, to be honest with you. I'm someone who really likes Keenan Allen, but at this point in his career, is Jacoby Myers kind of similar? I believe so. So there's a lot of teams that could use Jacoby Myers. I hope he doesn't. For fantasy, I hope he doesn't go to the Bears because I just don't think it's going to be very good for him for fantasy.
Yeah, no, I can see that, but I just want a bigger playmaker around Justin Fields.
Yeah.
That's what I want to
I
see.
hope so.
So,
well, if he's even a Bear, after all, I'm gonna put out.
I know.
So I'm gonna do a separate video about this, and this will be bonus content for everybody out there listening. It'll come out on Friday. I'm gonna record an episode just talking about what should the Bears do with Justin Fields, and this whole rhetoric is getting so out of hand. It's insane. But
it really is.
I'm going to put that out on Friday so you guys can look forward to that. But yeah, Jacoby Myers, from a fantasy perspective, as long as he goes somewhere to be the number 2 or even the number 1, I think there's a lot of value there. And again, late second.
Yeah.
Is that kind of the range you're feeling for him?
I think I would probably do a mid-second for him.
Mid-second? Ooh.
Probably.
You haven't... He would be your number 1 then at that point, right?
Yeah.
If DJ Chark and Juju are late.
I think I would probably rank it probably Myers, Chark, and then Juju. So
Okay.
I would rank the 3.
Okay.
Personally.
Interesting. Yeah, I like DJ Chark, but I'm biased, so don't
Yeah, you are.
I was looking at the free agents here of the guys that had more than 15 catches, right? DJ Chark was the deepest, he averaged the most yards per catch out of all the free agents this year, which is not really surprising. But, Darius Slayton is right down there as well, which is another guy that's kind of interesting, but maybe for a third, probably for Darius Slayton.
Yeah.
But here's a couple other guys we'll talk about. There's kind of a tier, right? So that's the number 1 tier, Chark, Schuster, and Jacoby Myers. Tier number 2 for me would probably be, let's see here. I would probably go Allen Lazard, Paris Campbell, and Darius Slayton. Is there anybody else you would add to that is a free agent? I mean, Jarvis is kind of past his prime at this point in
Yeah, I
time.
agree.
Zach Pascal, no, there's really not that
No.
many awesome options down here. T.Y. Hilton, he's kind of interesting, actually.
He's interesting, but he's not in that tier.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah,
If
I would
T.Y.
say
goes
that's
back to
really
Dallas, that could be interesting.
that is interesting. I really wouldn't be shocked if he did go back
He
and
played
try to run
34
it back.
snaps. He played
My guy,
34 snaps this whole
that's
year.
amazing. That's
That's
amazing.
hilarious. In 3 games, he played 34 snaps. So he played 11 snaps a game, basically. Had 7 catches
Hmm.
for 121 yards. What a boss.
Oh my gosh.
What a boss. All right, so yeah, that's pretty much the last one. We'll mention a couple guys after that tier, but Alan
Mhm.
Lazard, Paris Campbell, and Darius Slayton. How would you rank these 3 guys? Mac, I guess we could throw Mac Hollins in there. I think that Las Vegas is probably going to bring Mac Hollins back on a pretty cheap
Mhm.
option. Like he made $2 million this last year. They could probably bring him back for like 6-7 million. So he's older too. He's going to be 30 this upcoming season.
Mhm.
So I think that Mac Hollins is probably going to go somewhere on the cheap, but he's kind of interesting if he goes back to Las Vegas. Otherwise, I'm not really that interested. So, how would
Right.
you rank Campbell, Lazard, and Slayton?
I would probably go. I really don't want my Ohio State bias to show, but I won't. I won't. I'll probably honestly, I'd probably feel comfortable with like Lazard, Slayton, and then Campbell.
Really? Jeff Campbell third.
Yeah. Yes. I really like Paris Campbell, but he can't stay on the field.
He actually played
He just
he played out of all these guys.
well, I'm saying
Ironically, he was
yes,
second out of
ironically, I
all
agree.
of these
I
guys in
agree.
snaps. He just didn't get a lot of targets this year. So he played
Right,
16 games
right.
this year, only missed 1 game, had 57 catches for 581
Mhm.
yards, 3 touchdowns, and Indy was a nightmare. It kind of sucks. The
Yes.
1 year Paris is able to finally stay on the field and
Stay
stay
on the
healthy.
field.
It was just a
Yes.
nightmare situation around him. But my
Yes.
ranking of these guys, if it was me, I would probably go Slayton, Campbell, Lazard. And
Okay.
now, when you look at their stat line, so Paris Campbell, we just read his off, 57 for
Mhm.
581, and he played 900 snaps, 3 touchdowns. Alan Lazard, he played 800 snaps. He played 15 games, so he missed a little bit of time there. Had 60 catches for 788 yards, a little bit higher clip there, yards per catch, with 6 touchdowns, but that was with Aaron Rodgers in a much better
Mhm.
situation. So that's a
Yes.
little bit more concerning there. Also, it's concerning that even though he played one less game, he had a lot less snaps. He just did not see the field as much, um,
Mhm.
which tells me that they kind of viewed him as the wide receiver 3 in that offense. And then you look at Slayton, who was basically non-existent for the first couple games this year until he finally started getting utilized in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
He finished with 595 or 695 snaps, so the lowest out of all 3 of these guys, but 46 catches for where'd it go? Darius Slayton for 724 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, he had the most yards almost. He was just behind
Yeah.
Alan Lazard, but almost a third less of the catches. So, very, very explosive player. Free agent, age-wise, Paris is the youngest by about 6
Mhm.
months on Darius Slayton, and then Jacoby Myers is a whole year older than Slayton. So, they're very similar
Yes.
players.
Yes.
I'll put it that way.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that Campbell is second most interesting. I think Darius Slayton is a deep threat, and if he goes somewhere that needs a deep
Mhm.
threat, he could have a very good role for somebody.
Yes. Yeah.
He's probably a third, mid third. I'd be willing to spend on
Mhm.
Darius Slayton if I really need one. I think that the rookies fall off pretty hard this year, so I think
Yes,
that
they do.
Darius Slayton is probably as competitive as a third round rookie this year.
Mhm.
There's a couple guys maybe that I'd be willing to take over him, but not many. Paris Campbell, maybe an upper third, just because of age. Like that's the only reason. But man, I really want to see where Paris goes. Maybe he goes back to Indy,
I do
but
too.
I just don't know.
I think it'd be fun to see him in Kansas City.
Replacing Juju?
I honestly think that I believe also on this list is Mecole Hardman, and I really don't
Is
think
he
Kansas
really?
City's gonna.
Oh, he
I
is. Oh,
believe he is.
wow.
He is on this list, so I don't really think Kansas City's gonna resign Mecole Hardman for the
Him and Juju are both
my
free agents. That's interesting.
yes. So
Interesting.
so I mean, I really wouldn't be shocked if Juju went back and then they got like Paris Campbell in there to kind of fill that like kind of Tyreek Hill-ish role. I mean, he's not Tyreek Hill, obviously, but
No.
it's kind of the gadget guy a little bit. Um,
You
and
know,
that's what they wanted to do in Indy, but
you know where I
they
would
just
love to
didn't get it
see?
going.
You know where I'd love to see Paris land? Carolina
That would be interesting.
with Frank Reich. I mean, you got
Right,
DJ Moore. Who's the
right.
number two there? Who is the number two? They've got nobody.
Terrence Marshall Jr. Come
Yeah, exactly. So,
on.
Paris Campbell going to Frank Reich, there's the
Yeah,
the familiarity there.
yep,
And I think Frank was really trying to get Paris involved in that team
yeah.
before the nightmare situation that kind of happened there. But I think if Paris goes to the Carolina Panthers, there's a real possibility he could finish as a wide receiver number 2 this year. So, there is potential for Paris Campbell to definitely pay off. And he's young enough. He's only 25 and a half right now. So,
No,
I
I
know
know.
that Paris Campbell was a former first round pick for rookie drafts, not for actual NFL. He's a second round pick, I
Hmm.
believe, by the
Right.
Colts,
Yeah,
right?
he was. Yep.
So there is still long term potential there, but yeah, I do get the hesitation. We haven't seen a ton from him
Hmm.
yet, but Alan Lazard, he's just kind of the one where I don't know where he's going to land, and I'm not that excited. Darius Slayton is a very good deep threat. Paris Campbell is a very good intermediate kind of runner, where Alan Lazard, he's kind of not. I just don't think he's special in either of those categories, and that's where he would fall for a team. I'd rather take both of
Right.
those guys over him in those dedicated roles, but he can do a little bit of both a little bit better, I think. So he's kind of a hybrid player there. I just don't know if many teams have that big of a need for a hybrid player like that. So that's kind of the only
Right.
thing there. I could even see Green Bay bringing him back for a pretty cheap
Mhm.
deal, maybe a 2-year deal or something, but I don't know. Any thoughts on these guys before we move on?
Yeah, it's with Alan Lazard. I wouldn't be shocked if Green Bay brings him back, but I really think he wants out of Green Bay from
Yeah,
what
maybe.
I've been hearing.
He'll go to the Jets with
So
Rodgers.
that would be hilarious, personally. But I wouldn't be shocked if he's like a giant. It's with the other team, or
They
he
could
really
definitely
could be
use some money.
trading. Yes, yes, or like he could also be a bear. Just kind of be
Mhm.
another guy. Because I mean they need skill players and they have the most cap in the league. So I think they're going to spend a little bit of coin this offseason to try to get somebody for
Even the
field
Texans,
slash
like
yeah, or the Texans, yeah, yep,
there's a few teams where he could go where it'd be interesting at least. Because if the Texans move on from Brandon Cooks, it's a little interesting there. Um, the Patriots need all skill players completely every single day. But yeah, there's not a ton of teams that are absolutely hurting. Titans maybe. They're kind of the last one there that'd be a little interesting, but yeah, I don't know. Alan Lazard, he's just kind of the one where even Cleveland maybe Cleveland or Dallas,
yeah,
one of those two. But there's just so many landing spots that I just don't think he's going to be that exciting for. So I still think that there's definitely talent there. He's probably worth the 3rd-round pick again. I'd be willing to take a
mhm,
stab on him for that. But other than that, it kind of sucks. That goes to the description of this free agent class, right? There's not anybody I'd be willing to spend a 1st-round pick on as a free agent
right,
with the landing spot
absolutely,
unknown. Even if Juju
yeah,
Smith-Schuster went, to the best possible situation, I don't even know where that would be. Let's say he went to, I don't know, the Carolina Panthers to be their number 1 across from DJ Moore. I'm still
mhm,
not giving up a first for Juju at
no,
that point, So
no,
that just kind of speaks to this free agent class. Couple guys I did want to touch on real quick that are late round shots, essentially. They could go somewhere and maybe have a little bit of value. potentially, I guess, not something I'm holding my breath on. But the first guy was going to be Greg Dortch. He was someone that was a little bit interesting. He is a restricted free agent, so it's entirely possible that Arizona brings him back on a tendered deal, for 1 year. Demarcus Robinson, we saw a decent amount from him later on in the season, and the holes that Baltimore has at wide receiver, there could be a role for him there. And then the last guy would be Noah Brown with Dallas. He did show a little bit, for a team that is starving for, again, skill player help there. And then I guess Mecole Hardman, but yeah, I've never been on the Mecole train, so I'm not getting on it now. But yeah, Noah Brown, I mean, he played a decent amount, 43 catches for 555 and 3. Not terrible. I don't think that he'll ever be more than a 3, but he could go somewhere and possibly have a little bit of spot flex value for somebody. Anybody you wanted to throw out there?
I think those were pretty much all the guys that I see. I mean, this list is pretty slim.
Yep.
I mean, I still want to believe in Sterling Shepard, but after a couple ACL tears and
Oh yeah, he's there.
all this and that, yeah, it's gonna be it's a
30
lot for
now.
him.
His
I know he's
career's
30
done.
and it's done. I mean, I mean that's a name that kind of piques my interest a little bit, but I mean, I'm not going to go out and trade for him. If he's on the wire and he goes somewhere interesting, I would take a stab at him, but that's about it.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the wide receivers that are hitting the free agency. Again, let us know your thoughts. It's going to be interesting to see how this goes. Next week, we're going to be bringing you our running back rankings. There's so many of those guys. That's what makes this an interesting offseason, because there's so many running backs that are available. It's a good running back rookie class as well. It's a terrible time to be a running back in the NFL because, you want to go get all this money and you could easily get replaced by like 5 guys in the rookie draft. So it's not a good situation there. No. Meanwhile, the wide receivers, they're like, yeah, I don't know if we can do better than Juju in the rookie draft. So it's going to be wild to see how that kind of plays out. But next week, we're going to bring you our running back and tight end rankings. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this. And tomorrow, if you guys tune back in, we're going to be doing a mock draft, a rookie mock draft. And we're actually going to be doing it a little bit different. Everybody kind of does, here's a generic round 1 mock draft of all the players. And it's just our rankings for the rookies, right? Which we've already done that. So I don't want to do it that way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a team situation. We're going to go to one of my leagues because I have plenty of leagues that I can kind of pull from. We're going to do one round from specific draft. Dale and I are going to alternate back and forth drafting players, and we're going to just draft for those teams that we have on that league, right? So, if you have superstars at quarterback, maybe you're not going to go Bryce Young, or maybe you're not going to go Will Levis. And this will also give Dale a chance to give his rankings for these guys as well, because we've gone through my rankings. Dale hated some of them, Hendon Hooker. But, this will give him a chance to put his definitive rankings out there as well. So we'll see when the pressure's on, how he handles it. So thank you guys for joining us. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. If you're watching on YouTube, again, leave a subscription, comment, thumbs up, anything. It just helps with the algorithm. We appreciate you guys joining us for this. You can follow us on Twitter again at TDC_Calvin, at Dynasty_Dale. Hit us up anytime you guys have questions, and I'd be happy to get you guys some answers. So thank you guys for joining us. Have a good night.